To the Straight Talking podcast. We're episode 13. Aren't we? 13? Yeah. You.
Oh no, 13's an unlucky number. 13's Don't tell me that.
It's all good. It's all good. Today we have Melissa Riddell with us, who is a radio presenter. Mm-hmm. Radio presenter. And we're going to ask her a few bits and pieces. What I like to do is I like to find out about people, where they went to school, what sports they played, just general stuff, and then ask you about what you do now, if that's cool.
That's fine.
So, and Melissa is also, I call them the Nordy Invasion, taking all the lads from the Nordy Invasion, taking all the boys from Charlestown, taming them all.
Well, somebody has to do it.
That's good. That's good. So whereabouts in North of Ireland are you from?
So I am from a tiny little place. Honestly, I live in the middle of nowhere. I live out in the countryside, but it would be outside Portglenone. So if you go north, I'd be an hour from Belfast. So an hour further north. And the closest place would be Portglenone. So I always say I'm from there. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't heard of it. Is that that's near Portrush, is it? Is it near Portrush? No.
Everybody says that because it's got port in the name, but no, it's about 40 minutes from Portrush. But have you been up there?
I have been Portrush, yeah.
The nicest part of the country, I always say. I love it.
I never seen so much. It was like my teenage abandoned years. We used to get on the bus in Dublin and go up there to raves. In Kelly's in Portrush, yeah.
I've been to Kelly's. We used to go to back raves. In the day.
16 and 17 years of age. So if you say to me, have you been in Portrush? Physically, kind of, mentally, no.
No, yeah.
But is that still going? That's still a big rave spot up there.
Still going. All the students go, but to be honest, it would be more underage people there, like back in the day.
That was in the 90s. That was the spot.
It hasn't really changed.
Yeah, that was the spot to go. Anyway, so you live, it's kind of in the countryside.
Yeah.
Which is deadly.
Yeah. It's great. I've learned to appreciate it a lot more as I've gotten older. Obviously, when I was younger and I went to school in the town and all my friends were from the town, I wanted to be from the town because that's where everything was going on. And then obviously before I was able to drive, you just kind of feel stuck. Yeah. But the older I get and the more I work in like the town, the city, Belfast, you learn to appreciate how nice it is to kind of be out in the countryside. It's a way to get away from it all. Yeah. So I still live at home, hoping to move to Belfast in the next couple of years because that's where all my work is. Yeah. But we'll see.
Like living in the countryside, like I'm from, it's kind of seaside really, not really, but from outside of Dublin. But we moved down here, which is, I'm down here 17 years and it is kind of the countryside, even though it's not so far, but it was kind of further out a few years ago. And I like being out here because if I walk that way, there's just fields and cows. But you're close enough to go into the city as well if you want. But I like coming back out to the countryside, quiet. You know?
Yeah, it's funny as you get older how you just learn to appreciate it more. My dad is a farmer, so we don't live on the farm. It's just down the road where my dad's home house was. But growing up, I was like, oh, get me away from the cows, get me away from all of this. Can't stand it. They're smelly. It's gross. But it's just part of the countryside, isn't it?
And is he a dairy farmer?
No. Beef. Yeah.
Beef. I'm all into, my best mate is a butcher, but he's all into his beef and organic cuts. And what type of cattle does he do?
Oh, now you're going to embarrass me. I don't know. They're brown. Does that help?
No worries. Yeah, I'm all into it. I like meat and beef and finding out. So no, it's good. Good country woman. Good country. So as the farm got road frontage, that's important.
I don't even know what that means.
On the main road. So here around the countryside, it's like, and years ago, what would be a thing like if say a woman or a man was going to marry someone, a farmer, and he goes, he's got road frontage as well, which means he's got good land.
Oh, okay.
It's just a piss take. It means he's got good land.
Well, I'm going to say yes, just to not let Dad down, you know, if he's listening.
And many cattle has he got in his herds? You don't know.
Would you realise I don't really take a lot of interest in it?
No worries. So growing up, did you play any sports, or what type of sports did you do, or what were your interests growing up?
So I have never been interested in sport at all. Like growing up, I was the artsy girl. Like I loved art, I loved drama. So they were my passions. Sport, in our schools, the sport was hockey. I played hockey a little bit. I was never very good. And I think that's the thing. I like to focus on what I'm good at. And if I'm not good, I lose interest. So that was kind of how it worked for me. We were a school, the girls played hockey, the boys played rugby. So, played a little bit of hockey. And that was kind of it. I've only gotten into sport as I've gotten older. And by sport, I just mean I enjoy watching the MMA because of my boyfriend, and I've gotten into running over lockdown, which is great because I literally could not run the length of myself my whole life. Always avoided cross country at school, but now I actually could do it and can do it, so that's good. It's taken getting a little bit older and a little bit wiser to realise it's important.
That's good. You can't beat it now. Like, I woke up this morning. Normally what happens here in the morning, Yvonne wakes up early Saturday, Sunday, there's no coffee. Went downstairs looking for her, no coffee. Then she comes back in covered in sweat. She did 5 mile with her sister this morning.
Yeah.
So, like, house to house, you can just, running is, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no excuses really. You can just leave, run and back.
And come back.
You know, so
I think with lockdown and everything recently, everybody was going out for walks. I've never seen so many people out walking, and I always would have went for a run, I guess, down around it's kind of little, like a little park area near where I live, and it's just kind of off-road. But during lockdown, you know, there were no cars on the road. It was amazing. So we found all these new routes around where we live that you can just run, and you know, there's not a lot of traffic because it is in the countryside, but especially in the last few months, there's been no cars on the road, and it's been great.
And you done your GCSEs then. What age were you when you done your GCSEs? 17?
GCSEs would have been 4th to 5th year. Yeah, you would have been 17. And then A-levels, upper 6th, lower 6th.
And you went to college then after that? Or,
I went to university in Liverpool.
Oh, okay.
And I studied drama.
Sound.
So always loved the performing.
And in Liverpool, how long were you in Liverpool?
3 years.
Oh,
3 years, yeah. So 3 years at Liverpool John Moores University, and studied drama. Absolutely loved it. Always wanted to pursue kind of the presenting aspect. I felt like you can't do a job or you can't do a degree in how to be a presenter. It's not kind of offered, and I knew I didn't really want to go into news reading or the journalism side, because obviously you can do journalism. So I kind of thought, I've always loved performing. I do enjoy acting, but I wouldn't say I'm that good. So I knew I just couldn't be an actress, but I felt studying drama would be a good place to start. There's definitely an aspect of performance, you know, standing in front of a crowd. You certainly need the confidence. You certainly need to be able to talk and people understand you.
Yeah.
And I knew that it would definitely help me in those aspects. So I graduated and I moved back home, and I didn't actually think I was going to stay home. I moved back home to kind of make a little bit of money so I would be able to set myself up in London, because you would feel that would be where the opportunities were. But, you know, fate had a different idea, and I'm still here, still at home.
There you go. There you go. So now you're a radio presenter, and you're a radio presenter in Belfast. And what's the name of the station?
Cool FM. It's Northern Ireland's #1 station.
And how did you get that? How did that opportunity arise? How did you find, how did you come across that one?
It's actually so cool. I've met loads of presenters obviously now, and every single person has a different route into radio. You know, there is no set way. I think a lot of luck is definitely involved. Right person, right place, right time. But my journey is different to anybody I've ever met, because the advice that I would ever give to somebody if they were wanting to go into radio would be start your own podcast, start in a community radio station, get experience being on a mic, presenting music, try and just build experience any way you can. But I had moved home, like I said, and I was working in Boots, and I was working in a bar, and I was just trying to save money to move. But then I was home 6 months, and I was thinking, what am I going to say when I move to London when they ask me what I've been doing? You know, the past year, what have you been doing to gain experience and improve yourself? You know, you've just been working, but you've been doing nothing else. So I thought, gosh, I need to actually do something. So I started looking for opportunities in presenting. And I find that the station that I worked for, at that time was running what they called the Cool Academy. So it's called Cool FM, and they had their own academy where you could go in and sort of see around the station. It was a 5-week placement, and you would get to just kind of gain a little bit of experience. So I applied and I got onto that, and I actually never really left after that. So at the end of the 5 weeks, they actually let us, 2 of the people in the group, take over a show and present one show one time on the station. Now, it was all pre-recorded. I don't think they would have ever let us go live with zero experience. But I worked so hard to impress them. I let them know that, no job was too small, no job was too big. And I made them very aware that this is where I wanted to be and this is what I wanted to do. So at the end of it, I put together a demo and I sent it in. And they said, okay, we like it. Can you give us another demo? Because I don't think, I didn't really know what I was doing. So I don't think I'd give them all that they wanted to hear. So I went into the studio, they invited me back up and I put together another one. And I waited a couple of weeks and then they called me and they said, we like what we hear. We'd like to train you up for the station.
Super.
Which, as far as I'm aware, hasn't really ever happened before. So it's really cool and really exciting. So I honestly, I was broke. I was given all my days to this placement. And I was just still working in the bar at the weekends trying to fund, not really doing a job. But it paid off. I think if you've got a dream, you have to make the sacrifices. I'm very lucky that I was in the position to make the sacrifices, because I know everybody has different responsibilities. Everybody has different things that they need their money for. But I was just out of university and was determined that this was going to work. So that's what I did. So for a year, I covered shows. I got my radio air miles up, if you will. And then a year later, I got my own show and I've been there for 4 years now.
Deadly. And I suppose what you just explained there, a buddy I had on last week on the podcast, he's a comedian, Jason Bourne. And if you ever, we didn't speak about it on the podcast, but he spoke to me about his early days in comedy. And the same thing, you're fucking broke.
Yeah, so broke.
You've no house, you live at home, you've no kids, you've no nothing. It's the fucking best time to do it. Just fucking go for it. Because when you have a car and when you have a this and when you have a that has to be covered, you can't fucking do it because you've payments to make. Whereas when you're younger, you can say, I really want to fucking do that and I'm going to fucking do it. And
that's how I felt. It was like the only time in my life that I'd be able to do that, no rent to pay. Yeah. I had my car, so I worked in the bar at the weekends. I used to say I feel like I'm working 24/7. Like there aren't even 25 hours in the day, but I felt like, I just was pushing that extra bit. I didn't have a spare moment because I was going there 5 days a week, and then I was working in the bar Friday night all day, Saturday night through Sunday, and I was exhausted. But I think if you want to do something, you put in the work, because I would never. I always say, I just never ever want to think, what if? What if I'd pushed that little bit harder? What if I'd done that little bit more? Like, I want to say I tried and I failed, rather than, I didn't even try because I was scared.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm a big believer, and like, you are lucky because you obviously put the work in and you had serious talent, whereas there's other people that put all the time in, and you know what? It's just not your time to shine. Yeah. But something else will come along. I think
there's luck involved as well. Since then, so many people come to me and say, how do I get into radio? And the Cool Academy doesn't exist anymore. It was funded, and all these things need funding. And at the moment, there's been a global pandemic. There's not funding for it at the moment. So they're like, I know you went to the academy. How do I get into the academy? And I'm like, it doesn't exist right now. We've run lots of different mini academies since, but the same one has never existed. So, that was lucky that was there, and I got to be at the station for 5 weeks. That doesn't happen often. Who gets to go to the biggest radio station in their country and spend 5 weeks there, 5 days a week? So that was lucky. There was loads of luck involved, I think.
And then, like, it's easy to get your foot in the door, but it's keeping in there is the thing. You know what I mean? And it's about working a bit hard and just being in the right time, the right place at the right time. But it does happen. Sometimes it doesn't, but it does happen.
Thank goodness it happens.
You have to you have to aim for that 5%. Yeah. It's gone. And necessarily what you've done there, if it didn't happen, you're going to kind of look at it back in a while and get somewhere else to do what you want.
I got the experience. I could have went the way I advise other people to a local radio station and furthered my experience and then went back to them. That was the plan. You know, I wasn't going to give up. And I think if you've got that time in your life where you can do it, just do it and don't give up. Because you just never know.
And it's the prime time. Like you said, you're living at home, you've no bills, and I suppose like what we focus on, our main few things on this podcast is to focus on them type of, you can really focus on the problem and get like overtaken by the problem, or you can look at the solution. Yeah. And the solution's where it's at. It's like, how am I going to fucking make this happen? Yeah. No matter what you want to do. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? How am I going to make this happen? So that's the scary part, because figuring that out, and it can be different for everybody. Yeah. But I think as long as you're determined, the world is your oyster. Yeah. And have you ever read any stuff by Joseph Campbell? No. You ever heard of Joseph Campbell? No. And I'm going to ruin it on you. We were speaking, myself and John were speaking about Joseph Campbell here before, and it's like Joseph Campbell does this. He wrote a book called The Hero's Journey, and I know a good few people that I would follow and I would be influenced by Joseph Campbell, and one of the main ones would have been what's the guy's name that wrote Star Wars, the film Star Wars? Not Spielberg, the guy that wrote the story. He modelled the story of Star Wars on The Hero's Journey. But it's like, say, take for instance you. Now you were lucky, you didn't have to go the full circle, but you started off, right, and you're in Liverpool, and you go to the first stage, and it's like, I'm getting a placement at Cool FM, and then you get in the door. But the hero's journey is you don't get in the door at Cool FM and you have to go back a few steps and you're devastated and gutted and everything. And you go to your local radio or start your own podcast or whatever, and you put in the work, and then you get to that stage and then you get to that stage. But it's about following the path and not giving up. Yeah. Everyone gives up. Yeah. Everyone goes, do you know what? I'm going to give up and I'm going to take this job and work for this person that I fucking hate. Yeah. And just to pay the bills and pay for me car and pay for me house and blah, blah, blah. Where you can take the job, the bar job that you don't really like, but it pays the bills, and do the shit that you really like doing as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's about making those sacrifices. It's about being broke for longer than you ever wanted to be. But like I say, everybody's situation is different, and it's what your situation allows you to do. And I could never, judge somebody for having to give up, because sometimes you do have to. But I always say, if you are in the position, or if you can think of any way that you can keep going, just do it. Just do it, because you don't want to have regrets. No. And I'm like, by me saying that, I've failed so many times. Like, I've failed more times. Like, if I take 10 shots, 20 shots, I might hit one. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm not like, I've fucking failed so many fucking times. You know what I mean? So I'm not coming from a point, I'm sitting here on my podcast and like, I'm a winner. I've done it. This is how you do it. But now, a bit of reading I was telling John about it as well. Joseph Campbell, really. I love reading. So mind-altering stuff. Joseph Campbell, Hero's Journey. I know I've heard John Kavanagh reference a good few times. Does he have a couple of books? Because I feel like a good few. Scott, my boyfriend, bought one for Leah, because obviously they're all about the journey. Yeah. So that's kind of ringing a bell. I must ask him after. And it would be, if you look at, say for instance, if you look at anyone's, like, say Conor McGregor, if you follow his story, Conor was just ready to give up, fucking just ready, and then a call comes in, boom. You know what I mean? Whereas most people are just ready, they're just there, and they just say, fuck it. Yeah. I'm done. Yeah. But it's always at that moment where you're ready to quit. Yeah. That's when the success really comes. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, moving on. Yeah. Moving on. So Cool FM, now I came across you because you're with Charlestown's finest, one of the boys, Scott, and I've been looking at your Instagram profile, and then my wife, I was saying, this is the guest, and Yvonne's like, yeah, and then I showed her, and Yvonne got, oh my God, she's gorgeous. And Yvonne was then looking at all your stuff and your clothes, and as I was saying to you earlier on, I was saying, I say to my youngest son, you know, I say, I have blah, blah, blah on this week, and we Jason Bourne on last week, and he's like, he's verified. So it's like, yeah, and he kind of listens, and it, like, to spark his interest, I say, Melissa's verified. Is she? Got to give me a shout out. What she do? What she does? So for people that are living on Mars and don't follow you, follow Melissa Riddell. But I was looking at your Instagram, so you put on clothes and makeup and all stuff that you're interested in.
Yeah.
How did that? Like, I suppose for any young people, how did that start? How did you come across this and put it up on Instagram? Or you just said, this is what I like doing, I'm going to do this. How did you start?
I feel like it all goes hand in hand with what I do and what I'd always wanted to do. I actually started a YouTube channel, which I don't really upload to anymore. But the reason I started that was because I wanted to do presenting, and I wanted to make videos so I could critique myself. And at the time, YouTube had kind of just started. This was when I was in university, so 7 years ago. I guess YouTube had been around a couple of years at that point, and the bloggers had just started. And I thought, gosh, what could I talk about on these videos? Well, everybody's doing, you know, fashion, makeup, so I'll do fashion makeup because I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm able to talk about it, and I'm passionate about it, and then I can critique myself. So that was kind of why it all started for me, as kind of a way to critique myself, like I said. But then obviously, you know, I love it. Instagram came about while I was at uni, and nobody was really using Instagram in the way that we do now. But I always just loved sharing my outfits and things, because I love nice clothes, and I like to buy a lot of clothes, far too many clothes.
Yeah.
But I feel like they go hand in hand, because obviously the YouTube was how I started, I guess, getting into presenting and feeling like, yeah, I could do this. And then the presenting and getting my job has definitely helped my Instagram grow in awareness, as people know about me and my job. They're like, oh, I must go follow her. Oh, this is what she does. So now that influencing is a thing, you can almost cash in on, or you can get jobs from your online presence or whatever. And my focus would be, I love makeup. I like applying makeup. I wouldn't call myself a makeup artist. You know, I never studied to do that, but I'm not terrible at it. And I definitely would recommend products that I find are good. And people are interested in that. And people like people who put outfits together. So it's almost like an inspo page. You know, I would put outfits that people are like, oh, I could wear that. And I always share where things are from. And I don't know, I just try to always stay relatable as well. You know, I still live at home. I'm no big shot living in, you know, a big penthouse apartment in the city. I just kind of try and keep it real and share what I like. And I do think people like that as well. You want to be relatable. People buy into you. They buy into somebody that they can be like, rather than somebody that they aspire to be. I guess, you know, there's followers for both, but I like to just kind of be me and hope that people like it.
I'm only sharing what it's like with living with Yvonne. With Yvonne goes, oh fuck, I've no clothes, or of this or of that, and then next of all she's like, I'm after buying this because your mum was wearing it, and I'm after buying this. And I suppose instead of advertising agencies, and I'd imagine their budgets are struggling a lot, because it's with women especially buy more clothes than men. We kind of are serial shoppers, whereas Yvonne like tips away every week, every couple of days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, oh, I have to go to a 40th, so I better get something. You know what I mean? So when they follow influencers like yourself that are putting up stuff what they want, it's kind of saving on the massive advertising budgets.
Yeah.
It's like, let's send Melissa some stuff, see if she likes it, puts it on, and then these people buy it. You know, so I'm all for entrepreneurship, and that's.
But I do think
cool.
It's important that people stay true to themselves, because I think there's an awful lot of, you know, people not doing that online.
Yeah.
But I think if your audience knows you and they know my style, so if I rocked up wearing something that I would just never wear, they'd be like, "What?" You know, they would know I was talking nonsense.
Yeah.
So I think if people like you and know what you wear and like what you wear, they'll follow you for that. But as soon as you start just vlogging stuff just for the money, I think that's where things could crash.
Yeah. There's a couple of guys I would follow as well on my Instagram. I'm influenced by influencers, and like they're my age bracket, and like I see some stuff that they wear, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get that. There's actually a fella I buy some stuff off in Belfast. You ever hear him, David James Kerr?
Yes, I have heard of them. I know the guy who owns that. My friends could be friends with him. So
Yeah.
can I remember his name? But yeah,
So I buy some stuff off him. Max buys some stuff
their
off
stuff
him.
is really nice.
Yeah, it's nice. They have
Yeah.
some nice stuff. And a few of the guys, he sponsors a few of MMA fighters and stuff. And I just like it's some of the stuff. Now, some of it will be a lot younger, but some of the stuff I like.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
It's
like
good.
some of the stuff.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm small time in the grand scheme of influencers. So I'm influenced by the bigger influencers. And I think my passion is that as well. You know, I love Instagram. I love scrolling. I love seeing what my favorite girls are wearing.
Yeah.
And I'm influenced by them. So it's so exciting to me that people are influenced by me
Yeah.
as well. Because it's like, I don't know, a little train.
Yeah.
And we're all just
Yeah.
liking each other.
Yeah, no, and I get what you say about like if I'm just flogging this shit that I would never wear, and I feel kind of I think that's maybe 70% of the people are like that, because it's hard to fucking flog shit that you're just not into.
Yeah.
It's a hard sell. It's a
Yeah.
hard thing to do. Like I see a few influencers, not whatever they want to fucking do. It's a free world, but selling the fucking detox stuff and the
Yeah.
skinny stuff and the this and the that. And it's like, there's lots of people giving them shit. I wouldn't give them shit, because it's like, we live in a free world. You can just fucking move on with your life. You don't have to fucking buy it if you don't want
Yeah.
it. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Whereas if you're into something, you're going to buy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be a hard sell if you're trying to sell some shit.
And I think definitely, you know, they could be the people that it is their full-time income, and
Yeah.
this is how they make money, and it might be a hard month. So they take that job because they haven't got another job that month.
Yeah.
So you would totally understand why the temptation is there. Like if this is their income and,
Yeah.
you know, they have to take the jobs. But I think if you really want people to buy into you and to trust you, you know,
Yeah.
when I recommend something, I'm so flattered and so thankful that so many people genuinely trust what I say. But that's because I would never lie. Like if I think something's rubbish,
Yeah.
I won't talk about it. I won't tell them it's good. Like I wouldn't lie. I also wouldn't slag a brand. So I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
won't talk about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when I say something's good, you can rely on that opinion because it is, and I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you get your audience to trust you and buy into you, and that's it. It's easy when you say it out loud.
And selling stuff like on Instagram, like selling products that you don't agree with or you wouldn't stand over. It's a hard thing to do. And some of the I remember watching it was early. Some of the bloggers got into loads of shit, but just from haters, they're getting fucking loads of hate from fucking Sharon, who's at home, who fucking with her 10 followers, who hates her fucking life, and she hates seeing other people doing well. Yet, on saying that as well, there is some cunts out there that use Instagram or that are use their following for bad reasons as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like a little echo chamber, you know. But I suppose other influencers like yourself and that are just into your fashion, you're into your food, and you're into your bit of lifestyle and travel.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's an easy sell because that's what people like doing.
Yeah.
Like I like wearing nice clothes. Yvonne likes wearing nice clothes. I like eating nice food, and I like fucking traveling. And I'm fucking simple. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm simple like that, you know. And,
I think
and
we
most
all
people
are. Yeah.
And most people are. It's like I
The
haven't been
pleasures
there.
in life, the nice things.
The nice things in life, you know. But and selling stuff, as I was saying to you earlier on, I used to have to sell into marts. A previous job I had for a couple of years. Now it was funny because it gives you a neck like a jockey's bollocks on having to do it. But I used to have to sell to farmers and sell into marts and stuff like that. And me going down to places in Mayo and Galway with a Dublin accent, trying to fucking sell a farmer some stuff. But the stuff I was selling was fucking legit. And they wanted it. They bought it anyway. So it was an easy fucking sell.
Yeah.
But I find the best bit of sales advice like I ever got, and this was in the height of the recession. I had to do this because there was no electrical work for me. You know what I mean? So I had to do this. And the best ever sales advice I ever got was from my boss. And the company's still there at the moment. And they sell into farm machinery and stuff. Was talk about the fucking weather. That's why I asked you about the cattle.
Yeah.
Talk about the cattle. Talk about the fucking silage. Talk about everything. Do not talk about what you're selling. And talk about everything.
Give them
and
an
they'll
idea.
fucking buy it.
Yeah, that you know what you're talking about.
Instead of when you wade in with a farmer or anyone with a hard sell, they're just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas when you start up a conversation and really that's how Instagram is working. It's like there's no hard sell. I'm wearing this. I really like it. Here's the link.
Yeah.
Buy it if you want. And if you don't want,
you don't have
that's
to.
fucking cool as well. I'm still going to wear it.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
So I suppose that's the old Instagram thing, you know. But it's good. And what I like about it and what I love seeing, like, people with huge Instagram profiles that are doing what you do is because mentioning Jason Bourne again, I had him on the podcast. And a couple of years ago, he said to me, there will be people making income and turning their social media into jobs. And I remember at the time going, you're full of shit, Jack. It's full of shit. He says, I'm telling you, the days of people like our outfits and like us going, yeah, I'm in there for 9, I'm working there and then fucking driving home in rush hour traffic. He goes, people will be making money from Instagram. And now with people doing what you're doing or other people in other areas and genres and stuff that are doing that, it's fucking gift.
It's amazing.
It's gift.
There's something for everyone online, I think, and everybody's interested in entirely different things. Like I keep telling my Scots to make the videos. People want to learn. People are passionate about MMA and jiu-jitsu. And I think if he made videos, the viewers would rack up because, you know, you see it online already. So many people want to watch because it's something that people are passionate about. People love to buy clothes. Girls love makeup. You know, it is an easy sell. If the products that you're talking about are good, if the techniques that you're teaching are good, like I think it's a new way to advertise. You don't have to put an ad out in the paper anymore. You don't have to put the ads on the billboards or on the TV. I mean, people still do, but brands are definitely starting and have started over the past 5-10 years to realize that actually people buy into people. And if it's somebody that they follow and trust their opinions, they're going to buy the product because they said it, not because they saw it on a billboard when they were driving. You know, there's no, I guess, personability behind that, whereas there is with an Instagram account of a real person. And I think that's the selling point. And brands in the north have been, we're always about 10 steps behind up north, honestly. You know, it's taken them so much longer to actually buy into the influencer and realize that you will get the sales. But you definitely do. I mean, some influencer sales are competing with radio ad sales now as well. And obviously I can see both and I know both. But I mean, radio still sells really well. Ads on the radio do, but influencers sell really well too. So a little bit of everything, I think, is the best way to do it.
My brother works for a company, excuse me, it's not too far away from here. And they advertise like office desks. They do fitness equipment, some of the stuff that's downstairs in our gym. They got it made up for Max. And they also got a load of stuff made up for Philly McMahon, who plays for Dublin. He's a big JA player as well. And they gave him a load of stuff. And they gave some stuff to Dean Rock as well. And I was saying to him, wow, he goes, we don't fucking advertise anymore. We just give our products to influencers, let them test them, see what they're like, and let them fucking run with it. If they like it, they put it up.
If the
they
product's good, if you can trust in your own product, it works.
Yeah.
You know?
That's they only give out stuff. They don't fucking advertise or pay anyone for advertising anymore.
The biggest sports brand in the world, Gymshark, don't advertise with anything other than influencers. And look at them. You know, it shows that it works. And I think it's taken some brands a longer time to see that, but I think everybody's kind of on the influencer train now. And like you said before, you know, Karen at home might hate everybody who influences online, and that happens too. But
she's buying your shit in the slide. She's buying your shit in the slide.
Different account, different name.
Yeah, she's buying her shit in the slide. And she's buying the boom bot as well to lose a bit of weight for a beating. Oh, gosh. But I suppose I'm going to ask you as well now. So we haven't really got, most of our audience on this will be probably 80% male. And I remember I was laughing there a while ago. I seen Leah McCord putting up a video and she was saying 80% of my following is male. I was like, and she was appealing to all their partners she was doing fitness videos, which I thought was great. Do you know what I mean? The first part of me was going, 80% of our viewers is fucking dirtballs. And then the second part was saying, fuck, like she's appealing to their partners on tuning into their fitness videos, which is using their following to try and generate income. Yeah. And most MMA fighters I know, unless they have it, they're fucking broke. It's a hard gig. They're training, they're trying to eat right, they're broke. So you even saying that about Scott, like MMA fighters, I feel as well looking at them, they're delayed in this. They could learn from people like you. It's like you have fucking Instagram in your hand. Fucking make it work for you.
Use it, yeah. I say that to, like I said, I say that to Scott and Leah as well. Leah's really
she's very
doing
good.
well,
she's
and she is good at it. But I also think, and I'm not being sexist at all, but it's because she's female, and I think sometimes it can be easier if you're a female in some ways. I think sometimes men can be a bit like, oh, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't mean easier, I just mean females are more willing
ego,
to do it.
You know, jeez, the lads are fucking slagging me.
Yeah. But, you know, and not to big up my boyfriend, but I'm going to, like, Scott's a very good teacher. You know, when Scott tells me how to do something and somebody else tells me how to do something, Scott goes into all the finer details. And I'm like, you could make incredible videos. People would want to learn this and people would follow and watch. And he already does those videos online with that guy Lex, who is a Gymshark influencer. Those videos have millions of views. They're things that I could only dream of, millions of views. Like, you know, Scott's already kind of got that, I guess, backbone to sort of set him on his way. I'm like, just do it. But, you know, he's the busiest guy ever, so it's finding the time as well. Despite those sacrifices I said earlier, you know, make those and it could pay off. But there's definitely a market for the guys in MMA to start. I mean, I do see sometimes meals being gifted, you know, like meal prep companies. I've seen that before and that sells. But I think it's about, like Leah was doing, trying to get an audience that would actually buy into the stuff that you're going to advertise. Because if it is just guys that are only interested in that one thing and that's your fights and your MMA, then maybe they wouldn't actually buy the products that you would influence. So it's like kind of trying to build your audience to be a little bit more varied as well. So I mean, it's going to be a journey, but I think it's an open market. Like, get started.
Looking at it, like I really think it's an open market because MMA, even though fighters have a short career, it's attached to jiu-jitsu, but it does have a lifestyle about it. It has apparel. Most of the guys try and eat as well as they can. They like training, and they kind of all do similar stuff. And then, like with Gymshark and with your MMA brands and your bags and all the stuff that goes along with it, there's a massive audience there for all that stuff.
MMA as a sport is just becoming more and more popular.
It's the fastest growing sport in the world.
Like, to me, there's no question. Like, just do it. Just start. And I do keep saying to Scott, but doesn't listen.
Scott needs to listen. And that's what Yvonne says downstairs. I love his eyes.
It's the first thing Yvonne, she said to me when we walked in.
It's like that's what she said to me when she must say that to all the men.
Says to all the boys.
Yeah. Anyway, Yvonne, my eyes are nice. But it's I suppose more MMA fighters need to jump on that train. So maybe be something to you. Skill them off. You and Liam McCart need to skill them off because you are fucking miles ahead of them. Need to skill them all on this stuff, you know?
Yeah, because, well, I've said to Scott many times, what the MMA boys do, it's always just the same thing. They post a scary looking photo Am I right or am I right?
Other,
Sweat pouring off
beast
themselves.
mode.
And I'm like, what do you think that's going to sell? It's certainly not going to sell to the ladies. And I don't know what you're smoking if you think it is. Like, you look at your very worst. I understand, like, they just finished a training session and they want everybody to know that they've worked hard. But I'm thinking, in the world of marketing and advertising, you know, maybe not so much sweaty photos, maybe a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that. So I think it'll take off. I think in the next couple of years, people will start to smart up to it a little bit, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't, you know, like you said, they work so hard and until they kind of make it, you know, they're grinding away for not a lot of money. So if you could make a little bit this way, why not?
And the sad thing about sport is, and it kind of pisses me off a bit, you know, and I know a number of athletes in all different sports, and they're fucking literally starving. They're eating chewing gum off the floor. They've no money for food, no money for anything, and they're just barely surviving. And then when they kind of make it, everyone's shooting in with fucking money for them. You know what I mean? But it's like, where were you fucking 2 years ago? You know, so I suppose if you're guaranteed knocking out a couple of €100 a month, it's just going to make life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it'll make so much difference. So hopefully it happens.
Hopefully it happens, boys. You need to get on
it.
social media. None of that hard rounds done tonight. Beast mode.
It's the same caption every time.
Hard rounds done tonight. Hashtag beast mode.
Yeah.
Hashtag room full of killers.
That is so
room
much.
full of killers.
Yeah, I do think they all just saw one person do that and they're like, oh, that's what we do. But it's like, no.
And I have a 17-year-old and he has a manager now. Shout out to One Hip Fight Management, Paul.
I know Paul.
And I was down with him, just sitting in on his meeting, and Paul was like, I'm looking at your social media, Max. And he's like, yeah. And he goes, it's actually shit. And he's like, that sounds, yeah. And he goes, he says, you post like half the other fucking retards out there that post the stuff we just spoke about. He's like, how about you engage your audience? Like, ask a question.
Yeah.
So you get replies back, or, you know, engage rather than this. It's very hard for somebody like you or somebody to comment on room full of killers. Jesus, yeah.
Whoa, scary.
You all need to be disinfected looking at that room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I suppose a bit more engagement will be the way to go, you know. And I feel like men, from the whole mental health perspective as well, women are naturally engaging.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I brought you into the kitchen downstairs, and I'm sure when I left Yvonne's like, oh, I love your glasses and I love your this, and oh my God, your makeup's amazing. And, or is a bloke who just like, if I brought a bloke in, it's like, story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true as well.
Women
actually.
just engage way more. That's why women don't commit suicide to the alarming rates that men do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you engage more and
yeah.
talk, and whereas men don't really.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't really.
It's something that definitely needs to change, and it's kind of like how do we change the world? How do we change the male species? You know, how do we get people talking more? But I actually think everybody's online. You know, if they see lads talking, lads that they look up to, maybe they'll talk a little bit more. Maybe they won't, but you know, maybe they will, and that's important.
We had a psychotherapist on here a couple of weeks ago on one of the podcasts, Jennifer Loftus. Mm-hmm. She's brilliant, and I've consulted her on many things with raising kids and stuff like that. And the best bit of advice I got from Jenny is ask the question.
Yeah.
Ask the question rather than if only I could have, should have. You're probably not 9 times out of 10. Like when people are thinking about suicide, and I've heard this from someone else as well that deals with that, they don't really want to.
Yeah. They
don't really want to. And when people ask them, and this other person told me about this conversation has gone down a weird route, but anyway, sure, we'll run with it. This person worked in this treatment centre down in Cork, and he said, I've gone in on 7 suicides, 7 people that commit suicide. And he said, every single one of them seemed to have drink on them doing it. They needed drink on them for the bit of courage. And they all kind of regretted it and tried to fight to get out of it at the last minute.
Yeah.
So if we ask these people, they will answer. Yeah.
And then you can hopefully work from there.
Get them the help that they need or point them in the right direction. So us dudes need to
talk a bit more.
We need to talk a bit more, you know. Like the girls.
Like the girl. We never shut up. That's the problem.
No. My wife has 2 sisters and fucking hell. I feel like I'm fucking married to... I feel like... I kind of understand them Muslim men now. Yeah, the 3 wives, because they're fucking in and out of this house more than I am. You know what I mean? They're just in, they're on the phone, they're in, and... You know, I suppose it's good. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
They're all real. They're cool. Our sisters are cool, you know?
Yeah.
But I suppose we're going to end on this. So I want to ask you, and we spoke about it a little bit there, but again, leave people with 3 points. So they want to go down, they want to sell their brand because it's about selling your brand, and your brand is you know. Advice, 16, 17-year-old Melissa, 15-year-old Melissa, what would you say to yourself right now with regard to your brand, your Instagram, your YouTube? What would you do?
I would definitely say have a bit more confidence in yourself. You know, if this is what you want to do and you know you can do it, stop doubting yourself, because you've got what you need. If you know what route you want to take, like if it wasn't, you know, the makeup, the hair, the fashion, if it was the MMA, follow the accounts that really inspire you and interact with them. You know, you want to get on other people's radar because you can learn from them, you can be friends with them. So I would say interact with the things that you are interested in. You never know, you might develop friendships with people that you have looked up to for a long time. That's happened to me along the way. So I would say don't doubt yourself. Interact, like I said, in all the places that you hope to work in. And what else would I say? I think don't undervalue yourself. That's something that can definitely happen starting out. Like, don't get me wrong, you definitely do have to do a lot of work for free to get noticed. But I think once you are noticed, there are brands that could still want to get freebies when at some point you actually might deserve to be paid for something because you're getting them sales and everything. So definitely, you know, place a certain value on yourself. And one of the best pieces of advice one of my friends at work ever gave me was, he said, Melissa, if you can't be a bulldog, you need to get a bulldog. And he basically was saying, because I was like, I don't know how to tell them that they have to pay me, I'm too embarrassed, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, if you can't do that, you need to get an agent. And I have an agent who deals with all my fees and sends out all my rates, because I would end up saying, you know what, going against all the advice I'm giving, I'd be like, no, it's okay, I'll do it for free, which isn't right. You know, if it's your job, you should be paid for your work. You wouldn't go and work at the bar that I worked in, cover all the hours, do the shift, and then not take your wages. But it's very, very easy in this world to be like, no, it's okay, I'll give you a shout out, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, if you can't be a bulldog, get somebody who can do it for you. Even if it's just your brother, your sister, who can write the email and say they're your agent, and you don't want to do it, do it that way. So yeah.
That's a great bit of advice. And I heard that from harping back, mentioning Jay again. He was meeting with a TV executive, see what you said there, and he was still going, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other, and we're going to do it for that fee. And he's like, oh yeah, sound, let's do it. And then his agent goes, what? Look at whatever, and goes, no fucking way.
Yeah.
And they went back into the meeting again and goes, yeah, but he's after agreeing. He says, he's a fucking artist. Yeah. He's a fucking idiot. He just wants to fucking entertain you.
Yeah.
He doesn't know fuck all about money. He do it for free.
It's so hard
you gotta
to know.
fucking pay the cunt.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking negotiating with you. I said to Jay, you get the fuck out of the room. I'll sort this out. That's bang on the voice that you got. You know what I mean? That's
and it helped me because you don't know, like, you're shooting in the dark. And I guess when the influencing started and everything, nobody really knew what to charge. And, you know, I guess we're getting a lot more, we know a lot more now, and we know what, you know, this amount of followers would be worth and this engagement would be worth. Because you can have a few followers, but an incredible engagement. You know, some of the biggest influencers, their engagement isn't that good. Yeah. And it's actually about that, because if people aren't watching your stories, then you're not going to make the sales.
Yeah.
So it's all about the engagement as well. And that brands still to this day just look at the followers, and it's sometimes I'm like, it's almost fraudulent. Like they're pretending they have all these followers, but not that many people are actually watching and engaging, and that's what's important. But yeah, that's all I got.
Presenter, influencer, check her out on Instagram. My wife loves her, thinks she's amazing, loves her clothes. So check her out. Great to have you in.
Thank you for having me.
We'll get you in again. I'm going to get Scott in again. And MMA fighters, listen to this fucking podcast and fucking sort your shit out. No one wants to see them #beast mode. Get earning for your posts.
Yeah.
Yup.